All right, for this next section, we're gonna start painting our sloths. So you're gonna need a little paper plate or a real plate if your mom will let you. So I'm gonna take this sloth away. Just got a little dust in it. Let him dry, but you can already feel like it's only been like a minute and it's pretty much dry. Put that aside and let's get our sloth. So the first step, wash and dry that brush. Second step is we are going to work on our sloth. You're gonna need white, brown, black. Gonna put the colors aside a little bit. So the first thing we're gonna do is I am gonna paint my sloth's face. So I'm gonna take some white, put it on the plate, mix a tiny bit of brown in there so you get like a light brown. And I'm just going to make like a little outline, just making his face like an oval. And I'm going right over the mouth, and I'm gonna go right over the nose. And if you get a little in your eye sockets, that is a-okay. So I made a little oval. Next, I'm just gonna paint my sloth, and that, I'm not even gonna wash my brush. I'm just going to paint him brown. And you don't really see his toes. There's two kinds of sloth. There's two-toed and three-toed. But we're not really going to see it because he's hanging on to his branch. So I'm just going to paint that all brown. As I'm painting too, if you want to take some of that light color and kind of just mix it in so you get a little texture on him because he is covered with fur. Just going to continue making him brown. And you don't need a ton of paint on your brush when you're doing this. So a little goes a long way. You could always redip. As you go around his head, you're gonna almost like outline his head in that brown. Alrighty. I'm gonna take a little of that light tan. I'm gonna put that little light tan into it. Give him some texture. All right, so after that, you are going to wash and dry your brush. So the original example that I have, I did like light colored eye sockets. I'm gonna try and find you that right now. But on this version, I am actually going to do a dark eye sockets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your clean brush, take a little brown, mix it with a tiny bit of black. Oh, maybe a little tiny more. Oh, maybe a little more brown. I want it somewhere in between the brown and the black. I'm going to add a little more brown to this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your time. If you want, you could even use a smaller brush. You could use a smaller brush. I'm just going to use this brush. But if you have a smaller brush, you could use a smaller brush and you could paint that eye socket and go right over your eye. If you're using the correct amount of paint, so a little bit of paint, you won't even need, you'll be able to see your eye socket, no issues. Don't want any crazy paint. A little bit goes a long way. Take your time going around those edges, but if you're not perfect, it's okay. All right, he looks cute already. All right, so we're gonna skip to our branch, and I'm gonna use that dark brown again to do my branch. As I'm painting that branch dark brown, I even wanna make it a little darker, so I'm gonna put some black on my brush too. So you could dip in the dark brown and the black. Oh no. If you have a little paint accident, you could just use your finger, wipe it up a bit. You should get messy when you're painting. So that branch, I made a dark brown. So you could go back now and wash and dry your brush. And I'm going to add a little light brown into my branch, just like little streaks. If you guys could see, just a little streak so you could give it some texture. Alrighty. Now what we're gonna do is we'll move on to our eyes. So for our eyes, we're just gonna use the back of the paintbrush, the hard side, and I'm gonna dip in black. And then right where my dot is, I am just gonna put a little dot for his eye. You're not gonna see it that much, but we'll let that dry a little, and then we'll put a light reflection. So using the back of the brush too, I'm actually gonna outline my nose. Or try and outline my nose a little. You could fill in your nose with the back of the brush. But if you want to wait till everything's all dry, you could use Sharpie to do the mouth and the nose. I wouldn't use Sharpie to do the eyes just because you might not see it as well as the paint. I'm going to also use the back of my brush and do that mouth. Give him a little smile. Black in here, so I'm gonna mix it up a little. All right, so now that the eyes and the nose have dried just a teeny bit, so with the back of my brush, after I let it dry a little bit, I'm going to take a little bit of white, and I'm just going to put a little white line where the nose is, just to highlight that nose. And then make sure your eyes are dry. And with that back of the brush, I am going to make a little white dot. A little white dot on the right side of each eye. You might want to wait till it's completely dry to get a nice even dot. So already I am going to move this sloth to the side, and I am going to get my leaves. So our leaves, we want to make a different color green than our background. So in your little packet, you should have this green. So I'm going to take that green that I was given. I'm going to paint my leaves. And you could get a little funky with your leaves. You could use different colors. I'm going to paint those leaves. And you'll probably need like 2 coats on these leaves. And they're little pieces, so let them dry a bit. I'm gonna go back and add a second coat. My second coat's gonna be really light, because what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna add like white and yellow to my leaves, just to give them a little, so they actually look like leaves. So one of them, I'm gonna put a little white on my brush, and I could just draw like little lines, one line down the center, then a couple lines coming out, So it looks like a leaf. My next one, I could put a little washy brush. I don't like to wash my brush a lot. You guys could put a little yellow on your brush and put like a yellow line down the center. Oop, that one hopped a lot. I can do that one to the same one here. Make this all yellow. And I'm just gonna put a teeny bit of white and make like half of my leaf with like white. They're tricky sometimes. This one I'll go back to a little yellow. I have a little yellow on the, put some yellow lines, put some color coming out of the middle. This one I'm just going to put some yellow streaks in it. Alrighty. So we'll let those dry. As we're letting everything dry a little bit, we're going to go back to our original background. I'm going to move everything to dry. I'm going to go back, and this is when you could add fun details. So your sloth's going to go like this. And what you guys could do now is you could add fun little details. First thing I'm going to do some finger painting. So I'm going to dip in my white, and I'm just going to just dab to make little clouds in our sky. Now you don't have to do this. Your background doesn't have to be like this. You have a little choice. Dip and dab to make some clouds. Next, what I'll do is I'll make some ferns. So I'm going to go back to my blue brush, wash and dry. If you have a lot of paint on your fingers, you could use that paper towel just to wipe it. Wash and dry, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some ferns on the bottom so it looks like green jungle. I'm going to use that green that is the darker green that we use for our leaves. So what you're going to do is I'm just going from the bottom, I'll put a line coming out, and what I'll do is I'm just going to put some on either side. I'm going to put some lines that go out. You could do it from coming from the sides too. So I'm just going to put some on the left and right of each of that line. Just put some lines coming out. Put one up here too. Put one more coming from the bottom. So start off with that one line and then put lines that go up on either side. Beautiful. That's all you have to do. Next, what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to add some vines, or some branches, so it doesn't look like he's the only one swinging. So I am going to add some branches. I'm going to take that dark brown that we made for our eye sockets, and I have it right on the table, on the plate right here, and I am going to just add, so this guy is going to be about here. So I'm going to add one coming from this direction. So I'm just going to add one on this one. And after I do that line, I'm going to go back and just thicken it with a little bit of paint. Ta-da! So wash and dry your brush, clean your brush, clean up your little station. Put all your caps on your paints. Make sure your paints aren't too dirty because you're going to need to use them again. Not for this project, but for other projects. Anything that you want to do, you could use them again. If you just want to paint for fun or follow some of our other videos. So I'm going to let this dry for like a minute, and then we'll come back and we'll glue things.